discussion. Now, in some ways, discussion winds into each of these methods as we go along. But particularly, I'd like to give attention to discussion in this way. Verses 32, take a look at those. 32 through 40. There's some intriguing things that Jesus says. They were still on the road, okay? They were on the road going up to Jerusalem. They're always going up to Jerusalem. And Jesus was walking ahead of them. And they were amazed. And those who followed were afraid. Now, my question in a minute is going to be, why were they amazed and why were they afraid? And he took the 12 aside and began to tell them what was going to happen. Well, here we know now why. You see, we're going up to Jerusalem, and the Son of Man will be handed over to the chief priests and the scribes, and they're going to condemn him to death. Then they will hand him over to the Gentiles, and they'll mock him and spit on him and flog him and kill him. And after 3 days, he'll rise again. Let's just stop there for a moment. Can you imagine, well, we are. Can you imagine being with those disciples and those who were walking along? What caused their amazement? And why were they afraid? Two interesting words, amazement and afraid. Why? What do you think? Yes.
I think they were amazed at the courage of Jesus as he walked forward to what he knew was coming.
You were amazed at
His courage.
his courage. That's interesting. What else? Put yourself in the place. What will you have been feeling?
Like as in, how do you feel as the disciple or how do you feel as Jesus?
Oh. Well, maybe both. What do you want to say?
I feel like as a disciple I'd be really confused.
Yeah.
What? You're gonna go and die and who's the Son of Man and why are you telling me this and how do you know and why do I care?
Wow. Yeah, let's see that again. Why are you telling me? Why do I want to know this? Yeah. And how do you know this? Yeah. And how does it affect me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
They have to confront their own reactions to this and struggle with what am I going to do if this really happens.
What am I going to do if this happens? And still they're walking. None of them, well, at this point, turned away. Oh, over here, I saw him.
I was going to say, the verse 31 is, but many who are first will be last, and the last will be first. And oftentimes the disciples don't get it, and so maybe it was starting to sink in, and so they sort of be more in touch with those emotions, while not necessarily understanding what was going to happen yet.
It was beginning to sink in. It'd been kind of nice at first there. It was beginning to sink in. Let me go on. It was beginning to sink in where they were going and what was happening. And James and John, the son of Zebedee, came forward to him and said, Teacher, I don't know why they're saying this now, but here they go. Teacher, we want you to do for us whatever we ask of you. And he said to them, what is it you want me to do for you? I would have said something else, but he says, what do you want me to do for you? And he said, can grant us to sit at the right hand and at your left hand in your glory. But Jesus said to them, you do not know what you're asking. And listen to this. You seem like you changed the subject. Are you able to drink the cup that I drink or be baptized with the baptism that I'm baptized with? And they replied, we're able. Then Jesus said, the cup that I drink, you will drink, and with the baptism with which I am baptized, you will be baptized. But it's not up to me for you to sit on the right hand or left hand. What is he talking about? In fact, maybe one way if you might want to look up Mark 1, where there is a story, not all of you, but just Mark 1, 9 and 12, where there is baptism of Jesus. What was he saying there? What in the world is he saying? Can you drink the cup I drink or be baptized with the baptized I am baptized with? What's that got to do with anything? Yeah, go ahead.
He's foreshadowing his death.
Oh, foreshadowing his death. How do you think?
Well, I guess a couple of thoughts. I preached on this text last weekend, and I talked about how when he says drinking the cup and being baptized with my baptism, he's, I think, talking about being so the word for baptism, there's a word that it means to be like covered, like immersed. And I think there he's talking about being immersed in death. And so when he asks them, can you drink the cup that I drink, and they say yes, then he also says, you will drink that. And he's foreshadowing their own deaths that are similar to his.
They are going to be included in his death. They're going to be immersed in that too. Some others.
Can I share one more thought? Yeah. The really interesting thing though about this text is that he's talking about the two guys are asking if they can be on his right and his left. The interesting thing is that when Jesus goes into his glory, who's on his right and his left but two thieves?
So there is, he didn't really change the subject.
Right.
Okay. What else do you see in here? What's the connection between what he's doing and his baptism? Yeah, please.
You had asked about what happened in the baptism. I just looked it up.
Yes, please.
And it says, verse 11, a voice came from heaven, you are my son, the beloved, you are well pleased. And I feel like this is basically saying you can't be the son of God as I am. That's kind of what I'm trying to get.
Oh, so it points directly to Jesus, and Jesus' baptism is right up front in Mark's gospel, isn't it? I mean, there's a huge, just a plunk, here's the baptism. So it's like his entry into his ministry, isn't it? His baptism. What other connections do you see between his baptism and his ministry and his death and resurrection? How are they all connected here?
In liturgical theology, we're reading a book, but one of the chapters is called The Hole in the Heavens. And in baptism, the heavens open, the Spirit comes down, and in death, the heavens open, the Spirit comes down. And it's just an event of glory.
So there's death and there's resurrection.
Right.
And at the beginning of Mark, he's plunged into the water and comes out, this is my beloved son, and then out into the wilderness. Well, what about our baptisms then? If we too are disciples, what does our baptism have to do with Jesus' baptism? It's a nice little thing we have done, right? What's our baptism have to do with Jesus and with his death and resurrection and all of this? It's kind of,
that just like James and John were also baptized in Jesus' baptism, that marked with the cross of Christ.
So we are, to go back to what you said, we are entered into, immersed into Jesus' death and resurrection. And Jesus' death and resurrection were the entrance into his ministry. So our ministry goes through Jesus Christ, baptism into his ministry and his death and resurrection. It's all connected. Even though it seems so, what's he saying? It's all connected. Okay, we could go further with that.